Now, Macron, as I said, is in Gabon to attend this summit. Gabon has become a poster child when it comes to forest conservation in Africa. But is their model really the way to go?
Well, this summit is certainly an opportunity for Gabon to put forward its model of conservation as the recipe for success. The reality, though, is not that simple. But the country does have quite an unusual story. More than 80% of the country is covered by forests. They have put in place 13 national parks. They have relatively strict rules when it comes to harvesting trees. And even though illegal deforestation has not been fully eradicated, deforestation levels are really low, in part, however, thanks to oil revenues that keep supporting the economy. Now, that is why the forest minister of Gabon likes to say that Gabon is carbon positive. They are a carbon sink. Their forests are absorbing so much carbon dioxide that they absorb more carbon dioxide than they actually emit. Their strategy overall, Gabon, is based on the idea that the world, rich countries in particular, should be paying Gabon for the ecosystem services offered by their forests in terms of biodiversity and also capturing carbon. Gabon has already received $17 million as part of an initiative backed by the UN. And now they want to take that even further, and they want to be able to sell carbon credits on the international market. So essentially saying we have trees that absorb carbon. We can sell those carbon credits to countries, businesses that actually want to offset their emissions. The problem, though, is that this is a pretty controversial idea. This could be used as an excuse by highly emitting industries to avoid doing the hard work of limiting their greenhouse gas emissions. So imagine ExxonMobil, oil giant Total, airlines buying those carbon credits from Gabon while they continue to pump greenhouse gas emissions into the atmosphere. That is why some NGOs, Delano, are saying that this summit is a greenwashing fair because of concerns surrounding carbon credits. There is evidence as well, Delano, that carbon credits can lead to land grabbing and human rights abuses as companies want to benefit from a boom in these carbon forest credits.
Now, Valerie, this is Emmanuel Macron's latest summit in a long list of environmental gatherings which he's organized or co-organized over the years. Is it making a difference?
Well, it started, in 2017 with the first One Planet Summit right after the U.S. quit the Paris Agreement. And since then, we've seen the One Ocean Summit here in France and now this One Forest Summit. So initially, this idea of hosting these summits was about galvanizing climate action following this shock announcement of the U.S. quitting the Paris Agreement. Now, the problem is that these summits are not meant to produce any nationally binding agreements. They're not about setting a common goal for the entire world in the same way that COPs do, for example, the UN climate summits. So, is it an opportunity for NGOs, for people to put a spotlight on certain issues? Absolutely. But is it the way to deal with some of the most pressing environmental issues? Probably not. And it has become some sort of brand for Emmanuel Macron to have all these summits, and there is some form of summit fatigue. It's also pretty bad timing for Emmanuel Macron and this forest summit in particular, because France is being accused of trying to get an exemption from the European Union in order to build 2 biomass plants in French Guyana in the Amazon rainforest to power its space program there. And so this means that more than 5,000 hectares of Amazon rainforest, of tropical rainforest, would be cut in order to power these biomass plants that would be built. And so this is highly controversial. It's also very concerning for activists who have been putting a spotlight on this problem in particular. And that is why many are saying, well, France is in no position to give other countries a lesson on how they should be protecting forests when we see what is happening there in French Guyana. Many NGOs in French Guyana are using this summit now to put the spotlight on this issue that's not very well known here in France, and basically showing the gap between the words words and the actions when Emmanuel Macron is in Gabon claiming to protect forests.
Thank you very much for that, Valerie. Valerie Dekimpe there.